Hi there! There has been some mystery as to why I haven't posted a video or really anything for a while, and I do plan on making some more informational stuff here soon because I have been able to rack up some first-hand knowledge through something known in the medical world as complications. But I'm making this video today to mark a very important milestone. So back in the mid to late aughts, I was a student at Wright State University in Fairborn, Ohio. And if college prepares you for real life, this stretch did a great job of throwing what was ahead at me. You see, that's when I first started having seizures. First the small, partial complex pedimals that stopped me from talking, made things complicated as a campus tour guide. And then the big tonic-clonic grand mals made things a lot more complicated for everything. Among other huge complications, I suddenly wasn't able to drive, which made things tricky for life in a suburban, largely commuter-based campus. I was always able to catch a bus to the Irvin J. Nutter Center for basketball games. And we didn't always have a huge turnout crowd then, but those of us who showed up were passionate, and it gave me something I could engage in and be part of. When the seizures stopped for 6 months straight, right before classes started in the fall, I got my driving privileges back and was ready to jump right back into things. Plus, the basketball team had gotten a new coach and a promotions director, so everything was looking great. And then, 3 days later, the other shoe dropped, in exactly the wrong way. I broke my ankle in a way that the doctors had never seen before, and then spent the next 3 months with my foot elevated in a wheelchair. One of the top 3 wheelchair-accessible campuses in the country, including a tunnel system with walkways between all academic buildings, it was still a curveball. So the tour guide job was out, but when I healed enough to walk again, I was able to snag a job in the athletic department at the Nutter Center. And by basketball season, I was able to stand enough to do promotions during timeouts and run the Raider Pack student fan reward system independently. There was still this feeling of waiting for the next thing. What's going to happen to me next? But through the year, I started feeling better, like almost back to normal. So how is this relevant? Well, since April, I've had some weird one-in-a-million medical situations. Like during a brain study, a huge seizure dislocated a shoulder and fractured 7 vertebrae. Now, those healed up and then broke again. Then I got rehab put on hold for a couple of months, then a few weeks more for a run-of-the-mill brain surgery. And then I added 5 more months to it by having a stroke. It's been a real whirlwind. I've gotten most of my physical and communication skills back. I'm obviously reading this from something I wrote ahead of time, but it's progress. So what does this all have to do with each other? Well, when I got that job in the Wright State Athletics Department, the men's basketball team had a pretty good season, and the Nutter Center went from this to this.
This place is electric. How about Graham knocking down the free throws at the end, the sophomore? And that'll do it. Wright State's going to the dance. They won a Division II national championship back in '83, went Division I in the late '80s, and have only been to the NCAA tournament on one other occasion back in '93, and they will be in the field.
At the end of the year, we hosted some tiny little 13th ranked school called Butler for the conference championship and Wright State's second trip to the big dance. Now, that game, the league office took over promotions, which meant I could just take the day off and turn into this.
We're going dancing, baby!
I was able to run onto that court without fear. That hadn't happened. This was a victory not just for the team, but for me. It was a milestone. And that's where we end up today. That's how all of this comes together. On Tuesday, after 10 and a half months of complications, I completed my stroke recovery program and walked out of the rehabilitation center one last time. And even though I couldn't be there, the next day, another symbolic milestone occurred. It's been 15 years since my alma mater played such a big game at home, because even though they made the conference championship game, small school conferences shouldn't have their championships played at neutral sites. But last night, they made the field of 64 in Dayton and had the entire Miami Valley cheering. I've watched almost every WSU men's basketball game and followed all of the other sports for the last decade and a half. Now, I've still got some work to do, but yesterday's play-in game showed things are getting closer to where they should be. So I'll see you soon. Go Raiders.